Yo, what's going on guys, it's Dr. Apolly, and this new One Piece chapter just came out, chapter 1023. It was a pretty cool chapter. It started setting up all the fights that we're gonna see, Sanji versus Queen. We have, Inurashi versus Jack. A lot of cool stuff going on. I opened Twitter and it was trending all over Twitter. It was a really epic chapter, and the next few chapters are probably gonna be even crazier once we get to see, the actual fights, the actual results of the fights and how they're actually going to play out. If you all read the chapter, you all know what I'm talking about. It was pretty epic. Another fight that was set up was Zoro versus King, and this is what I want to talk about. Not necessarily what I think is going to happen in the fight, or I guess kind of, but something was mentioned in this fight that I thought was pretty interesting. This page here talks about how Zoro took Enma and how they didn't really object to it because Zoro had Shusui and he gave that back to Wano. Kawamatsu talked about how it reminded him of Ryuma, and what he mentions with Ryuma is that he was also a one-eyed samurai. Now, Zoro has one eye. I think we all know this, but in the show, no one really acknowledges the fact that Zoro has one eye. I think one person did in the Return to Sabaody when Sanji was looking for Zoro. He said, yeah, this one-eyed samurai person. And it's like, okay, we all know he has one eye, right? But throughout the show, it's never really been acknowledged, the fact that Zoro has one eye. I think these Ryuma comparisons are making people think that Zoro is somehow connected to Ryuma's bloodline, or there were those old theories about how Zoro was actually from Wano. So it's interesting. I think in the next few chapters, maybe, we might actually get an explanation as to why Zoro has one eye, or maybe if he doesn't even have one eye, maybe he has people have been theorizing for a while that Zoro has some sort of Kakashi dojutsu, where he has some latent power hidden in his eye. That low-key actually makes more sense to me than him just losing his eye. Because it's really weird, right? You would think that someone at some point would have been like, hey, Zoro, what happened to your eye in the middle of the time skip? Or someone like Sanji would have made fun of him and be like, hey, you one-eyed freak, or shut up, you Cyclops. But no one on the Straw Hats, no relevant character has ever really acknowledged it. And even the person in Sabaody, it's okay, it's a one-off thing, and it was a random, yeah. No one really acknowledges the fact that he just has one eye. Oda recently, in an interview with someone, I forget who, but someone asked him hey, I've always wanted to make, he said, always want to make a one-eyed samurai, and that's nice and stuff. And someone asked hey, what happened to Zoro's eye? He doesn't mention that he lost it, doesn't mention anything. He just refuses to answer the question, which implied to me that he had something left in store that he wanted to show off. It wasn't just some design decision. People are thinking that Zoro losing his eye was just some design change, but that doesn't really make any sense. When Shanks got the scars on his eye after we saw him after however many years between chapter 1 and chapter next time we see him, it was okay, Shanks has these scars on his eye, and then they finally explained it was from Blackbeard. But no one just Zoro just loses an eye, or we don't see his eye and he has a scar there, and we're just supposed to accept that this is this is just some design change. No, that doesn't just, no, it's one thing to wear different clothes or whatever, but when you lose a body part, that's I don't know, that something deeper has to be going on with that. I think people were just saying that because it's just been so long since the time skip has happened and nothing has come of it, so that we all just kind of accepted the fact that it's there, and then we just maybe it's just a design change. So I think that's why people are kind of saying that. So I don't think that's true, but yeah, I think that's why people are saying it. In chapter 1010, we find out that his eye couldn't store Conqueror's Haki because Rayleigh, in the anime at least, when Rayleigh uses Conqueror's Haki, it zooms in on his right eye, which is scarred, similar to Zoro's eye, but it's his right eye instead of his left eye. So people thought that he might just have Conqueror's Haki stored in his eye for whatever reason. That didn't make any sense to me. Who Conqueror's Haki stored in your eye? That doesn't make any sense. I guess it still is possible, but it seems pretty unlikely to me. People have also theorized that it might be some special version of observation Haki because, you know, he trained with hawk eyes, and Mihawk does seem to have pretty sharp eyes, just from like, he's like multiple irises or whatever. But, you know, it does seem kind of weird though, because why would he have a special observation Haki in one of his eyes when presumably Mihawk has it in both of his eyes or something like that? That always seemed kind of weird to me when I heard that. Probably the most popular theory was that he had some sort of demonic curse to him, and this one actually made a lot of sense. That will make sense as to why no one really acknowledges it, because it's like some sort of latent power that like no one dares mention, sort of thing. And that seems perfectly in line with Zoro's character. In Logtown, he acquired the cursed blade after all. I forget what it was called, but he acquired a cursed blade, so, you know, it would make sense. Going back to Rayleigh, he also has a scar on his eye, except it's the other eye, the right eye instead of the left eye. And he's called the Dark King, so it does seem to line up pretty well. Rayleigh, of course, has a lot of parallels with Zoro, you know, right-hand man of the Pirate King. They seem, you know, really strong to be right-hand men. They could be like captains in their own right. A lot of parallels between the two. It also would juxtapose Mihawk, right? Because Mihawk has a lot of like cross imagery for himself, and then Zoro has a lot of demonic imagery around himself, so it would also like perfectly contrast each other. Zoro also hadn't used any, you know, of his, you know, demon powers. Demon powers? I think that might be the wrong use of words, but any of his like cursed powers post time skip. So people were saying that once he used one of his cursed powers, that his eye would open up. But then he used it against Kaido, so that seemed kind of unlikely now. So my own personal theory for a while, the only way I could rationalize this eye was that it was some sort of crazy final last resort attack. Because you have to remember, Zoro said Ashura was going to be his final attack, right? But he also broke 20 bones before that when he was blocking the attack against Kaido and Big Mom. This final attack, like he made it to be like in perfect condition to use it or something like that. And he was only trying to buy time. He wasn't trying to like kill Kaido because he knew Luffy would do that. Or I should say defeat Kaido. Saying kill Kaido in the One Piece community kind of gets people a little bit uncomfortable, but yeah, defeat Kaido. So that was like the only plausible reason I could think that as to what his eye power could be. But I guess now it seems that it's in some way correlated with Ryuma. That's kind of interesting because from what we've seen of Ryuma, at least from what I've seen, he didn't have one eye. So I'm kind of wondering where this one eye idea came from. Maybe we'll get some sort of flashback with Ryuma, or maybe some explanation, maybe like a brief, like a 2-panel sort of thing with Ryuma, maybe explaining how he got one eye. Because I'm pretty sure in all the art that we've seen of Ryuma, especially like he had like this one-shot manga called Monsters, where Ryuma was the main character. He didn't have one eye there. He just looked basically like Zoro with black hair. Although I guess if you look at his corpse, he has like some tape covering one of his eyes more than the other one. Anyways, he was known as the One-Eyed Samurai, but you know, I think all we really know about Ryuma is that he cut a dragon and that he was like a legendary samurai in Wano some years ago, and that he had the Shusui sword. So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing where this goes. I know most people don't really care about this Zoro One Eye thing anymore, but I've always been interested in it. Like after the time skip, this was like the theory, the One Piece theory, what happened to Zoro's eye. And now it looks like we're finally getting some explanation on it. Maybe anyways. So I just thought I'd make a video on this really quickly. Zoro's my favorite character in the show, and no one really talking about this, so I thought I might as well just make a quick video on it. Don't ask me why I haven't made a video in like 3 months. I don't really know either. But you know, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll see you all next time. Bye.